Selamat pagi. Today it is a super overcast, miserable day here in Malacca. I got here yesterday at around midday, and this is just like a historical theme park, this place, honestly. So we're gonna go suss out some pretty cool stuff and eat some food, I reckon. This bridge here is pretty strange. It's decorated with, I don't know what that axe is, but that knife, that is called a Chris knife. Chris knives were very sort of popular knives and weapons for diplomatic and political officials during the Sultanate era, where, you know, the Sultanate era of Malacca, which was between 1750, but obviously lots of the different states in Malaysia had their own sultanates and their own ruling systems. Check out that mural there. Oh, that depicts what I mean. It's got a Chris knife and then presumably some kind of weapon axe. You can see one of the guys there on the left with the axe on his waist, presumably as a weapon. I don't know what that's called though. Look at this magpie, or a crow with a stick in its mouth. What the hell? But yeah, it's just a really colourful, really nice city. Like, everything's so decorated. I mean, check out this bridge, and this isn't even, that's not even a, you know, not even a big deal. It's just got some nice colours. I just like when things are, you know, and people are proud of their area and they make it look really nice. There's heaps of art as well along this river walk. I'll do like a little montage of all the different paintings and things. I really like these lights they've got on the trees here. They kind of look like icicles, I suppose. Obviously, in Malaysia, icicles are an extremely rare occurrence. But yeah, nighttime would make it look pretty nice. Check out that apartment complex there with all the it's basically just a big mural, the whole thing. You'll notice as well that a lot of the architecture is very old. So there's a real blend of like colonial era, Victorian architecture. Some of the houses here are much older than that though. They're dating back to like the Dutch and the Portuguese period, or at least the initial concrete or cement foundations are. Hence why sometimes the roofs here or the doors are extremely miniature. Who doesn't love how colourful that is? Like, I don't know, if people don't like colourful cities, I just don't know what's wrong with you. Like, come on, smile a bit. It's so much more fun than like all these hyper modern houses you see that are just like white glass and concrete. Like, nah, that's so much better. Shapes and colour, that's what I want. Okay, that is an old frangipani. Look at the size of that one. Lovely, and it's pink too. Check this out, this looks so cool up here. Look at these buildings and just how old everything is. So much like the rest of Malaysia, you do get a real blend of Chinese, Malay, Arab, Indian, all these different cultures blending in. And hello kitty. And you're gonna get in my way? Yeah. And mixing, and it's just such a historic thing. And then obviously as well, which we'll get into in a bit, you get the Portuguese, the Dutch, the British all coming in here and trading and having their influence. And yeah, you can just really see it in like the people, the food, the language, but also just like the buildings here, the architecture. People are still so proud of their heritage. Look at this architecture. I do just love it. There is something enchanting about these old buildings with all the decay on them and the paint coming off, and all these old business fronts which are now new business fronts, and the, like, you know, the colour. There is something about it which is very appealing to me. Yeah. It's a nice street mural there. I don't know what it is about Malaysia and the street art, but they love it here. There's so, I couldn't film it all because obviously that'd just be a video about street art, and you can watch something else if that's what you want to watch. But yeah, like so much art everywhere. Another interesting bit of street art here with a rickshaw and some taxis. Very nice. So Malacca was founded in 1400 by a Srivijayan prince, an Indonesian kingdom, a prince from that kingdom called Padmaserawan. Please forgive me if I'm butchering the pronunciations of this. And yeah, he founded this, which was a trading post originally, and grew into a very, very powerful trading post right in the Strait of Malacca, between Sumatra and the Indies, or the India, and the obviously the rest of the trading world back then on the maritime Silk Road. Said prince also converted to Islam, Prince Padmaserawan converted to Islam, and this then grew into a very powerful Islamic kingdom, which attracted traders all the way from India, Arabia and China. Then notably, it also became a very closely related to China because of a famous Chinese admiral called Admiral Xi, who paid many visits to here from the years of 1420 to 1480. So check it out. This is a mosque built. This mosque itself was actually built in 1748, by Sumatran architects, but it was all kicked off by our old mate Siti Bahajan Parasayawan from Indonesia. That's the worst historical bloody recap ever, but check it out. Cool mosque. And then obviously up here, or just even on the streets, you can see the legacy of those Chinese, selamat pagi, of those Chinese voyages here. It's pretty interesting. Like, you read a lot about these Chinese admirals going around, and I'm wondering, are they mercantile admirals, or are these like diplomatic, military, you know, projections of power back then from these Chinese kingdoms? Super interesting to think about. Anyway, these look like dragon dash hounds. You know what I mean? Like Dachshund dragons. Go. Pretty interesting. And obviously we got over here your fairly bog standard temple, although it is very pretty, very colourful. I'm not going to film inside, but check it out. Lots of statues, lots of stuff, very Chinese looking. And so, in keeping with this mercantile heritage, you still get the very famous Jona Street walk, which is full of businesses. Unfortunately, I did get it yesterday and I walked around. Unfortunately, most of these businesses are just selling crap which has been imported from China. But you can find your gems which are selling antiques and actual handmade stuff here in Malacca. But yeah, hundreds of years ago, this would have been full of hawkers and handmade pottery, linen, textiles, all these crazy cool things. Nowadays, it's just bloody mass-produced t-shirts from underpaid labour. So yes, mostly just people selling pastries, clothes, and pottery, because this place is very famous for pottery, except you just gotta be careful because most of the pottery here, if you walk into like 3 or 4 shops selling pottery, you'll notice that there's common patterns, and that's because it's all bought from the same factory. Which is really sad, to be honest, really sad, like in terms of the heritage. Except I did find yesterday, oh, check it out. I did find yesterday a man with his own pottery shop selling handmade pottery, and I did buy a little prezi from there. I'll pop it up on the screen now. So you can find these places. I might link in the description where his shop actually was too. But yeah, it's not really that interesting because of how much corporate nastiness has gone on, and everything's just been bought up by 1 or 2 suppliers from the same country. And yeah, that's the end of the Jona Street walk. You'll notice there that that hotel or building, I'm not sure, I'm presuming it's a hotel, is clad in this red clay. And that's a common thing you'll see around Malacca, a lot of these buildings clad with this same red clay. Laterite red stone is the type of clay which they use to build all of this stuff. It's readily available in the quarries nearby, hence it was cheap and easy to source. And yeah, it's been used to make all of these very, very beautiful buildings. Now most of these buildings, like that church over there, actually date back to the Dutch period. So this church here, built as a Dutch Reformed church, was built in 1753, although it started its construction 12 years prior. And yeah, the British found it intact when they took over Malacca and didn't make many changes. You can also see many of these storehouses and warehouses which have all been converted to local businesses and things. They all share that same architectural influence. And this clock tower here was built in 1824, again with that same theme, the same red clay. It was built by a Chinese philanthropist, a little businessman who was trying to fulfill his father's wish of erecting a public monument, a clock, in the heart of Malacca. You can also see here a fountain gifted by Queen Victoria herself for the city. But obviously right behind me, you would have noticed the very large Stadthuis building. So yeah, the Stadthuis building, this building was built around the 1650s, again by the Dutch. It served as their administrative hall for the colony of Malacca. And yeah, eventually it became basically the center of town, the main economic hub of all their activities of the Dutch East India Company. Again, when the British did take over, they also institutionalized this building for themselves, and here it remains today as a museum and a popular tourist attraction. But I've been talking all about the British and the Dutch and these dates and this date, and you're thinking, what's this bloke talking about? He's talking about 1650s Dutch and then handing over to the British. Well, the whole story eventually obviously started, the whole story starts with the Malacca Sultanate in the 1400s, as I already mentioned, with that mosque and everything that we saw before. That Sultanate was all going swimmingly well until about 110 years later, when some Portuguese fellows rocked up and conquered this. This is their remains of their first fortress they built. But in 1511, the Portuguese took over Malacca. Here they established Fortaleza de Malacca. This is all that remains of it today. Obviously we're talking like 400 years ago. The original building covered about 1.5 square k's. It was finished in 1588. It took them a long time to build. Again, built with this same clay, the same red rock. Obviously it's not as treated, it's just raw stones. And that served as their administrative centre and their hospital, their church and their main trading port. But the Portuguese were very, very unpopular rulers, and many of the neighbouring sultanates and other Malay kingdoms really did not give them a break, and they had to constantly fight off other invading armies, and hence why you see all these cannons. These aren't Portuguese cannons though, these would be later versions. And eventually the Dutch, those scheming Dutch, teamed up with the Sultanate of Johor and eventually did take over the Strait of Malacca from the Portuguese in 1641. And then they set up shop here and built all those nice red churches and stuff behind me. Now the reason why everyone wanted to control this is obviously because of this really nice river you get here, which only maybe a kilometre or so down the river flows into the ocean. It's a really nice, natural, defensible harbour, defensible port. And the Dutch had fun with it and enjoyed it for a few hundred years, until in 1812 the British signed a treaty with the Dutch which gave the Dutch control over all of Indonesia and let the British set up Malacca as one of their 3 main settlements in the Straits colonies. So Malacca teamed up with Singapore and with Penang to become part of the British, I think it's not the East India Company, the British Malay Company, I don't know, East Asia Company, something like that. It's another company. Very similar sort of concept to the East India Company though. So yeah, that's a very brief history of Malacca and of the area. There's their flag. It kind of looks like the Chilean flag but with a Muslim star in it. Yeah, that's a very brief history of Malacca, going from you know, for 1400 up until now. Obviously after the British, the Japanese occupied it in World War II, and then Malaysia was liberated. Funny thing about that clock before was I was reading that they replaced the actual clock faces in the 80s, and they bought them from Seiko, and there was still enough people that had lived during the Japanese occupation of Malaysia, and they did not want to import a clock from Japan to be on their precious monument, which is fair enough, but it went ahead anyway, and those Seiko clocks have not stopped running since the 80s. But yeah, the city really calms down very quickly once you get away from Jona Street and from the Red Square. You can see here all the boats ready to take tourists out. I keep seeing signs like this. The World Tourism Day of 2025. I don't know if that's already been or if it's coming up, but they you know, World Tourism Day 2025, it's right here. This is the place to be, apparently. So up here, they've got a full-size model of the type of galleon which the Portuguese would have arrived in. They're very, very tall ships, aren't they? Very big hulls, as you can see there. Yeah, very, very tall ships. You can see that they're a lot shorter too. It's kind of, well, it's a galleon, you know, so it's not really like those later caravels and frigates which you associate with like the colonial age. I was just thinking about this before actually, because everyone, you sort of think of the great colonial powers, you think of Portugal, right? And of course they were, but the Portuguese were doing it hundreds of years before the French and the bloody, you know, the English and the French. You know, like these guys, when you think of the British and the French conquering other parts in the world and establishing colonies, you think of it due to their great technological advantage. But the Portuguese kind of, you know, they were rocking up here with swords and shields, maybe a few muskets or a few arquebuses. That's not, they would have not been that much more ahead of the Malay people, especially not with like Chinese firearms and things which would have been supplied to them and easily accessed. So like hence the reason why they were, you know, exhausted from having to constantly fight, because they weren't really technologically that superior. They were in the regards of naval navigation, but other than that, like, you know, they kind of did it on a bit more even playing field, let's say. Yes, here remains the very natural harbour of Malacca. It's obviously been dammed up from the river there. With the river's literally just over that way. So you can imagine hundreds of years ago, all sorts of vessels, much like that one over there, sailing up and down this, trading all sorts of things from porcelain to firearms, slaves, unfortunately, spices, textiles, all sorts of crap. Pretty much as much stuff as they could fit on one of those boats they'd carry, because that's how people made their fortune back then. Oh, I didn't realise it, but here's another part of the once mighty Portuguese fort, Fortaleza de Malacca. I've just made it up the top of this hill. Looks like there's a pretty cool lookout to go see. Okay, made it up. Check it out. Lots of very nice old houses over there, looking colourful. We've got a cruise ship. We have a tower which spins around. I just saw the building spinning around. I'll have to video that for you in a second. But the main attraction is this. We've got it's a ruined church. How interesting is that? I wonder if this is Portuguese or if this is Dutch. I'm gonna guess Portuguese. Wow. Oh wow. Big stone tablets as well with Latin on it. I can't really read Latin, but they're graves, they're memorials. Let's see if we can find some information, eh? This slab marks the grave of Frau van Riebeck, wife of John van Riebeck, founder of the Cape Colony. The original gravestone was moved to Cape Town in 1915. Huh. So it's Dutch, I'm guessing. Very, very nice. It's weird to be in a church without a roof. It's very surreal. Look at that. Whoa. Here's another very old square of the city up here. Another, presumably the remains of another church. Let's check this out. That looks very nice. Oh, there's a mosque there too. Look at that. Those nice gold onions on a mosque, eh? Yeah, this is an old church. You got, oh, it's some old Portuguese thing for sure. You got the old carvings of a saint and a warrior and a ship. Oh crap! This is part of the fortress that the Portuguese built. That 1.4 kilometer thing that I was looking at before. So it must have encompassed this whole. That'd make sense. 1.4 square k's. It says on that sign that here remains the only part of the ancient fortress of Malacca, built by Alfonso de Albuquerque and the Royal Portuguese Army. So this is what time has done to this wall, which would have once been responsible for repelling attack after attack after attack until eventually they couldn't repel it. Here's what the old cannons look like. Pretty mini, although I wouldn't want to be shot at by one of them. Wow, that's fantastic. I didn't know this was here. That is fantastic. This city is literally like a historical theme park. What is this thing? Look at that. That is a pretty crazy looking building. It looks Japanese almost. Istana ke Sultan Malacca. So it's something Arabic, eh? So this museum is built based on, it's a replica of the old Sultanate Palace, which was originally built in 1465 and was eventually destroyed in 1571. Built on historical records found in the Malay Seraja, or something like that. Malay annals, basically, historical annals. That's all the sign told me. So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff. I do like it. It's cool. Here's a diagram of the size of the original wall of the fortress. And so we're over here. So it would have been surrounded by a moat. There's the church we were at before. I thought that the wall, because we could obviously only see this little bit remaining and that little bit over there. I thought that was like the whole, I thought the wall might have went down from like maybe something like that, you know, originally, or even on the other side of the channel. But no, that makes a lot of sense. And the beach obviously as well back then wasn't, you know, humans couldn't really control beaches like they can nowadays. So the beach is much closer to the settlement. That's fantastic. And then obviously around here is where all the Dutch eventually built all their churches and things. But back when the Portuguese were running shop, that's all that would have been here. Is a few storehouses, a few merchant districts, church, bastion, and then the rest of it all just living quarters and mercantile space. Just in case you hadn't had your fill of history, here's a replica of Malaysia's first airliner and first passenger rail. Ooh, I kind of am in the mood for a milkshake. What do we got here? We got lemon, the coconut. I don't really want coconut. That one there is 6 ringgit 50 for a mango, and it says it's got vanilla ice cream in it, milkshake. That sounds pretty gnarly. So here, this one's lemon and lychee. Is this lemon and lychee? This one here?
Coconut water with lemon and longan.
Longan? Yeah. Okay. Actually, I think I might get the mango. Mango, yes please, yes please. One please. So it's, oh wow, just ready to go, just like that. Beautiful. Oh, thank you sir, thank you sir. Okay, terima kasih.
Sama-sama.
Okay, wow, it's literally a mango smoothie with ice cream on top. That looks, hang on. Bugger. That looks bloody awesome. Let's give you a review of this. Oh, yum. It's just blended up. It's literally just blended up mango. And he's got like fresh slices of mango in there too. Oh my God. I'm gonna have to actually eat this with a spoon, I reckon. Let's go and sit. Should we sit near the ball? Or should we sit near the... Let's sit near the ball. Sit near the ball. Not sure what kind of ball it is. It looks like a ball with... Oh, there's water on the... No, let's sit over at the stairs. Righto. Let's crack this lid open very gently. I don't want to spill my ice cream. Oh yeah. Crack the lid open. Jesus, I nearly dropped it. So what do? We've got a bit of ice cream here. That is nuts. I've never had ice cream. Well, that's a lie. I've definitely had ice cream. Is it mango flavoured ice cream? It's double mango. What? That's crazy stuff. Yum. Okay. Perfect bite. Bit of ice cream, bit of smoothie, and slice of the mango, hey? So I've got a slice of mango, ice cream, and smoothie all in there. It's obviously going to be insanely good. Wow, that is creamy. Maybe it is vanilla flavoured ice cream actually. So it's pretty bloody good. Oh my god, look at the bloody size of that piece of mango. What the heck? Is that even mango? Yeah, it is. What the heck is going on? There's Hello Kitty bikes blasting club music with old Malaysian men pedaling them. That one's a Spider-Man bike. What's going on? If that's your cup of tea for what you want to do in your holiday, fair enough. Oh, I feel like I need to have a sleep after that thing. That was rich, decadent. Anyway, I've arrived at the other side of town. Check it out. This is looking a bit more local kind of vibes. Not as many people. I do like the look of those buildings over there. Fuck. What the hell was that? There's some smoke over there. I don't know what that was. I've got no idea what that was. Anyway, weird. I don't think there's anything particularly interesting about them though. I think they're all just shop fronts and buildings, but yeah. Oh, here's that spinning, here's that tower that bloody spins. Have a look at this. What is going on? Look at this thing. It must it's like a platform that goes up and spins at the same time. That's cool, that's weird. And I've got another historical thing. Check this out. We have a World War II gunboat and some anti-air installments. Those things are pretty funky. Okay, now I'm really starting to get into the back streets a bit. I've seen a bridge that goes up there. I'm trying to get to the beach. Weird, it gets very quiet very quickly. Like as soon as you walk away from the main area, I'm really not that far away from, even from that wooden boat I was at before. I'm not that far away from it. And yeah, it's really quiet really quickly. Lots of locals out here just sort of doing their thing, having brunch. Maybe I can get a roti. Maybe I'll come back and get a roti. I'm not that hungry. I'll go across the bridge later. I think I've changed my plan. I've realised which direction I'm going now, and there is something else I want to see. But it is so strange to me. All these really nice, cute buildings, you know, and it's a ghost town. This one looks like it's completely abandoned. Very strange. Okay, so this is clearly the more built-up part of Malacca. I'm assuming not that many people go here, or maybe they do. Maybe these are mostly the luxury hotels. But yeah, check it out. This looks very, very different to the rest of the old town. I'm in the business heartland of Malacca, I think. And it is creepy. Look at these towers here. Empty. There's no one on the streets. Most of these businesses are just empty. Very odd indeed. Okay, it's a little bit less ghost towny around here. But still, it is quite strange. There must be a big urban sprawl or something where most people live. Alright, you might be asking me, why are you in the bloody suburbs of Malacca walking around like a headless chook? And I am a bit like a headless chook at the moment because I don't have the best reason. I did just see two things on Google Maps and go, yep, I'll go there. And one of the things was shut. But apparently down here is a pretty goofy statue. Who needs to go to Brazil? Look at that. We have our very own Christ the Redeemer in Malacca, right next to the fighting swordfish. There he is. So strange. That's so cool. I mean, it's obviously not very big, but yeah, that's part of the Portuguese settlement. I don't know what's going on around here. It looks like there's just lots of church stuff. This must have been a little Portuguese settlement outside of the main fortress, or the fortified area down in the main bit of Malacca. I'm only about 2 kilometres away from all that, but I can see here that a lot of the architecture is very Portuguese looking. Yeah, like even that little restaurant, which is now a pub, was once a little Portuguese building, and the rest of these too. But yeah, let's check out the beach, eh? I think we can see the actual beach from here. Wow, or the mangrove. Oh, there's the beach, out that way. But here's your muddy mangrove if you ever needed one. There's plenty of lizards and fish on it. That camera probably couldn't pick that up. But yeah, here's your another mini Portuguese settlement. There's a cannon over there. Right, let's get some lunch then, eh? I'm gonna go to this place and figure out what they have. Okay, check this out. I've got my standard nasi, which is rice. Some of the famous Malaysian chili jam, I really love that stuff. The classic anchovies, peanuts, egg, cucumber, and a big old piece of fried chicken. Yeah. Okay, nasi lemak basically is like the anchovies. You get some of the peanuts. So I'm gonna get an anchovy, peanut, some chili jam, some rice, a little bit of egg, Very hard to put a little piece of boiled egg on your spoon, and then a piece of chicken. How do I get the chicken to come off? Hang on. Okay, little piece of chicken. Yum. That's just such a good combo. Egg, chicken, peanut, anchovy, rice. What can go wrong? Whoa. I also ordered a roti bawang, which I'm pretty sure is onion roti. Okay, I'll have to give that a go. Oh man, how do I even make enough room for this now? I've got so much food everywhere. Okay, loving my nasi lemak. Ayam goreng. Oh yes, there's definitely onions in here. I can see there's some onions. I'll show you. You can see little pieces of onion, little teeny weeny bits. Right, so I've got here my standard chili jam curry and another curry. So we'll go in for a bit of the curry oil, a bit of the curry sauce, a bit of the chili jam. Should be a perfect bite. Whoa, those onions are very sweet. Very sweet onions, very caramelized. That's great. That's awesome. What do you mean? How can you not like that? Fried bread, curry sauce, and sweet caramelized onions. Come on. Well, I am in the bush. Check it out. This is some like reclaimed island off the coast of Malacca. It's just full of like half-developed construction sites like this. There's no workers there. There's no work being done. It's like halfway built. Anyway, whatever. It's a bit weird, bit of a ghost town. I'm here because I wanted to check out the beach, but it's all, I don't know how to get there. So, I don't know, I'll figure it out, why not? So creepy, mate. Man, this place is so strange, dude. Look at this. There's like all this development going on, and it's all half done. It's like the investment's just been pulled at the last minute. So bizarre. But there are people living here. I can see, like, there's heaps of cars, and I can see, you know, like right there, you know, pot plants and laundry, but there's no one here. Well, I found the beach, and I'm glad that they've not letting you bring any food or drinks inside, or not littering. I can tell that everyone's really listening to that advice. Anyway, let's see this this beach, eh? There's a bunch of tour boats here. There are some people up here. How strange, I forgot that there was people around. Okay, it's not too much of a beach. But everyone's here to see that, I'm guessing. It's a very pretty mosque over the water. Have a look at this. I like it. Well, I think I'm gonna wrap that up there then. That's Malacca. That's a speed run, I suppose, of all the things to do in Malacca. I mean, obviously not all the things to do. I definitely glossed over much of it, but yeah, it's a little tour of Malacca, and I've got to head out to another city in like 2 hours anyway, so I will be leaving that there.